I am with Dr. Kyle Ingram. Do you like to be called by your students Kyle, doctor, or professor? What do you prefer?
They usually call me professor, which I
Professor.
kind of like. Yeah,
Professor Ingram.
yeah.
So I read all about what you're doing, and it seems that you're going to be taking students to the UK. I'm really excited about this, having been there many times, having taken my son there, having friends there, and it's a wonderful place. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what your program is, including whatever prerequisites there might be, how many students you want to take, and whether you're going summer 1 or summer 2, and the dates.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So I am so excited about this trip. I actually spent almost a third of my life in the UK. So I started out at the London School of Economics and Political Science, where I completed my PhD. And from there, I worked for 3 separate universities after completing the PhD. And through that time over there, I sort of built this sort of extensive network of both academic and professional individuals that, you know, I just am looking forward to sharing those individuals in my network with people from UC, especially our students, exposing them to a city that I love, in addition to any professional network connections I can make is kind of my goal through this particular program. It's called the London Leadership Experience, primarily because my expertise are in leadership. So I do research in interpersonal leadership. I actually study something called relational ambivalence, where you love and hate your leader simultaneously, which has some.
Well, wait, comment. I kind of know that
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah. Funny enough, a lot of people have that kind of reaction. And then the other course I teach is teams, so leading and managing teams. So I thought, what better way to explore and kind of experience London than through those 2 courses.
Yeah.
So the London Leadership Experience is actually in summer session B. So the dates, we're actually only going for 3 weeks. As you can imagine, London is quite an expensive city. So we compressed our time together to 3 weeks. So the dates for this particular program are July 24th through August 16th, and we're going to be located right in the heart of London. From what I understand, we're actually partnering with the school that I worked for, so King's College. We will be staying in the King's College dormitories, and there will be some academics from King's College that will be participating in some of the lectures that you will experience.
So what kinds of explicit activities will you be doing, and then what sort of side trips might you be taking that will be cultural for the students?
Sure. Well, as you can imagine, there is a lot to explore in London culturally on your own. So you will have that time obviously available to you. However, there are a few excursions that we will be, that you have to do when you're in London, right? So we'll certainly be attending the Tower of London, where we'll learn about the rich history of the royal family, as well as the Beefeaters, the culture of London, and exactly what took place and what happened within the Tower of London, which I think matches nice with some of the things that we'll talk about within the classroom. So we talk about team culture, organizational culture, and so you can kind of see, I didn't realize this, but the Beefeaters actually have a very rich history of the way in which they sort of display and create culture. They maintain the culture of the Tower of London. And so we'll actually get to hear stories from them around their experience and how culture is maintained. We're also doing a bit of fun. So we're going to take an MI5 style kind of espionage trip down the Thames in a high-speed boat.
Oh, wow. Oh.
So get your adrenaline ready for that. And this is a nice experience to engage with London culture as well. So as part of that, not only will it be kind of a high thrill team building exercise, we'll also have the opportunity to learn more about the architecture. You know, you go down the Thames, and if you've ever been to London or seen it on TV, you'll know that the Thames goes right down the heart of London. So you're exposed to all of the architecture, the buildings, and it's interesting to see the way in which the city transitions from the west all the way down to the east. And I actually spent a lot of time in Greenwich when I was living in London, which is the place where time began, right? So when we first started thinking about time, it is the prime meridian is located there. So interesting experience to stand on both sides of the hemisphere at the
Yes,
same time.
which I have done.
It's cool, isn't it? And it's a
Weird
nice view
feeling.
of
It's a
London.
weird feeling. You have an amazing view and you're saying, wow, it's this time over here and it's this time over here. And I can't wrap my brain around that.
Yes, yeah, and actually located near Greenwich, we'll actually be working with an organization called Lead Change, and this opportunity is one that I cannot rave enough about. It's actually an equine facilitated learning experience. So we actually work with horses, right? And
Okay.
it sounds a little bizarre, but I actually met the owner of this particular organization, the president of this organization, at a conference, a leadership conference in central London. And she was talking, I had the same reaction. Why in the world would we work with horses to understand teamwork, emotional intelligence, influence? And so she said, why don't you come out and experience this firsthand? So a few of my colleagues and I went out to Lead Change, one of the local stables in Greenwich, and we engaged in this equine horse facilitated learning experience, and it was a little life changing for me, so much so that I wanted to expose students to this particular program.
How many students are
you,
you going to take? I forgot to ask you that part because that's kind of important. How many students do you plan on? I got so caught up in the horses. How many students are you planning on taking?
So we will have a minimum of 12 and a maximum of 30.
Wow, that's a larger group than most of the other education abroad. So you'll go all the way up to 30. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. And that actually works quite well for another key component of this course, which is we will actually engage, imagine, given that it's a leadership and teams kind of focus here, we will actually be engaging in a case competition. So actually the more numbers we have, the better, because it will enrich the experience of
Yes.
sort of the case element of this course.
So when you say case, it's like I would say in my research, a case study kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah. So we will have students diagnose a case, propose solutions, and then they will actually compete with each other. And I'm going to bring in a panel of experts from my network there in London. These individuals are already thrilled, they're on the books. Some from Google, some from Deutsche Bank. You know that we're also going on a cultural exchange with Deutsche Bank in London, as well as Google, assuming all of these offices are back in full flow. But we will have members sit on the panel to judge the case competition. So teams will be competing against each other. And then the final night of our time together, we are going to have a rewards dinner at the Sky Gardens in central London, which overlooks the entire city. Panoramic view, celebrating our time together on the course. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
if students want to reach you to find out more specific information that relates to them personally, what email should they use for you?
Sure. So the best way to reach me is kingram@ucr.edu. And it's King Ram, if that makes it easy.
Very good. What a pleasure. Well, this sounds really exciting. Thank you so much. This has just been a delight. It sounds like a wonderful program.
My absolute pleasure. I look forward to this experience, and please join us.